The world is watching in disbelief as Washington asserts control over Venezuela's government and oil resources in what critics call a brazen assault on sovereignty. United States President Donald Trump has now posted an image declaring himself the acting president of Venezuela amid a dramatic U.S. military offensive and the capture of the Venezuelan leader. The image appeared linked to recent events in which U.S. forces launched a large-scale strike on Venezuela, seizing President Nicolas Maduro and his wife in a military operation that has shocked the international community. Trump has since maintained that the United States will run the Venezuelan government until a safe, proper, and judicious transition can be achieved, drawing sharp criticism from foreign governments and rights groups.
And you have total safety, total security. One of the reasons you couldn't go in is you had no guarantees, you had no security, but now you have total security. It's a whole different Venezuela, and Venezuela is going to be very successful. And the people of the United States are going to be big beneficiaries because we're going to be extracting, numbers of, in terms of oil, like, few people have ever seen, actually. So you're dealing with us directly. You're not dealing with Venezuela at all. We don't want you to deal with Venezuela. American companies will have the opportunity to rebuild Venezuela's rotting energy infrastructure and eventually increase oil production to levels never ever seen before. When you add Venezuela and the United States together, we have 55% of the oil in the world. The United States is number one. We have them drilling. Drill, baby, drill was my campaign. And Doug and Chris, I think we're setting records on drilling right now and taking oil without Venezuela. That's how we're getting the oil prices down. The plan is for them to spend, meaning our giant oil companies will be spending at least $100 billion of their money, not the government's money. They don't need government money. But they need government protection and need government security that when they spend all this money, it's going to be there so they get their money back and make a very nice return. The plan is for them to spend at least $100 billion to rebuild the capacity and the infrastructure necessary.
On Sunday, Trump said relations with Venezuela are improving rapidly, pointing to major oil shipments and renewed diplomatic engagement as signs of a dramatic shift. Speaking to reporters aboard Air Force One, Trump said the United States is now working along really well with Venezuela's new leadership, following the U.S.-led operation that removed Nicolás Maduro from power. Trump revealed that Caracas has already requested a massive oil shipment to the United States, 50 million barrels, a deal worth more than $4 billion. Trump confirmed the shipment is already on its way, calling it a sign that cooperation between the two countries is moving fast. The president also signaled upcoming high-level meetings, saying he expects to meet Venezuelan Vice President Delcy Rodríguez at some point, and hinted at a possible meeting with opposition leader Maria Corina Machado within days. Trump said global oil companies are showing strong interest in Venezuela's energy sector, though he criticized ExxonMobil, saying the company's response was too cute. He assured energy firms that the United States would guarantee their safety and investments, promising there would be no problem operating in Venezuela. Trump blamed previous instability on past U.S. leadership, saying Venezuela's problems existed because he was not president at the time. The president also hinted at broader regional moves, including talks involving Cuba, though he declined to share details.
Are you going to go to Venezuela, or is Secretary Rubio going to go to Venezuela anytime soon?
We're doing well. Venezuela is really working out well. We're working along really well with the leadership, and we'll see how it all works out.
Are you going to meet with Delcy to go?
At some point I'll meet. Yeah, she's been very good. Look, she asked us, can we take 50 million barrels of oil? And I said, yes, we can. It's $4.2 billion. And it's on its way right now to the United States.
Mr. President, oil companies make commitments to you, sir? Have any oil companies made commitments to the United States after your meeting on Friday, sir? Yeah. Which have Exxon, Pidogo?
No, I didn't like Exxon's response. We have so many that want it. I'd probably be inclined to keep Exxon out. I didn't like their response. They're playing too cute.
What backstops or guarantees have you told the oil companies that you're willing to provide?
Guarantees that they're going to be safe, that there's going to be no problem, and there won't be. There's not going to be a problem. They had problems in the past because they didn't have Trump as a president. They had stupid people.
In Maduro's absence, Venezuela's Supreme Court appointed Vice President Delcy Rodríguez as interim president, though the legitimacy of that authority is contested amid U.S. pressure. Trump has reportedly warned of further military operations if leaders of Maduro's inner circle do not comply with American demands, largely linked to massive Venezuelan oil supplies. Amid this turmoil, the U.S. continues seizing Venezuelan oil tankers, with Trump announcing plans to refine and sell up to 50 million barrels of Venezuelan crude. U.S. Secretary of State Marco Rubio outlined a three-step strategy for Venezuela, beginning with stabilization after Maduro's capture, followed by ensuring American oil companies access, and culminating in overseeing a political transition. Rubio said, "The bottom line is there's a process in place where we have tremendous control and leverage, signaling deep American involvement in Venezuelan affairs."
Well, there's a lot of operational details that can't be discussed publicly, obviously, for obvious reasons. So as we move forward, we'll describe our process, which is a threefold process in Venezuela. I've described it to them now. Step one is the stabilization of the country. We don't want it descending into chaos. Part of that stabilization, and the reason why we understand and believe that we have the strongest leverage possible, is our quarantine. As you've seen today, 2 more ships were seized. We are in the midst right now and in fact about to execute on a deal to take all the oil. They have oil that is stuck in Venezuela. They can't move it because of our quarantine and because it's sanctioned. We are going to take between 30 and 50 million barrels of oil. We're going to sell it in the marketplace at market rates, not at the discounts Venezuela was getting. That money will then be handled in such a way that we will control how it is dispersed in a way that benefits the Venezuelan people, not corruption, not the regime. So we have a lot of leverage to move on the stabilization front. The second phase will be a phase that we call recovery, and that is ensuring that American, Western, and other companies have access to the Venezuelan market in a way that's fair. Also, at the same time, begin to create the process of reconciliation nationally within Venezuela so that the opposition forces can be amnestied and released and from prisons or brought back to the country and begin to rebuild civil society. And then the third phase, of course, will be one of transition. Some of this will overlap. I've described this to them in great detail. We'll have more detail in the days to follow. But we feel like we're moving forward here in a very positive way. The bottom line is that there is a process now in place where we have tremendous control and leverage over what those interim authorities are doing and are able to do. But obviously this will be a process of transition. In the end, it will be up to the Venezuelan people to transform their country. We are prepared under the right conditions, using the leverage that we have, which includes the fact that they cannot move any oil unless we allow them to move it to... Well, again, I'm not going to give you a timeline on it. We wanted to move as soon as possible. But we didn't expect this would... It's been 3 days since this happened, 4 days since this happened. So I understand that in this cycle and society we now live in, everyone wants instant outcomes. They want it to happen overnight. It's not going to work that way. But we're already seeing progress. With this new deal that's been announced and more deals to follow, you're already seeing how the leverage the United States has over those interim authorities is going to begin to lead to positive outcomes.
The extraordinary escalation has drawn international alarm, with critics warning the U.S. action could destabilize the region and violate international law as global scrutiny and geopolitical tensions intensify. Sweden PM Ulf Kristersson warns that the world is on a dangerous path after the U.S. attack on Venezuela. He slammed Washington's military operation and capture of President Nicolas Maduro as a violation of international law. Kristersson cautioned it risks inspiring other countries to follow suit.
The U.S. military attack on Venezuela has led to President Maduro now standing trial. He was not a legitimate leader of his country. Very few will miss him in power. But it still violates international law and risks encouraging more countries to act in exactly the same way and view the world in the same way. Russia is already proving that it does not see Ukraine as a separate country, but as part of its sphere of interest. China is increasingly signaling that it is prepared to take Taiwan, even by force. This is a dangerous path to take. The U.S. administration's threatening rhetoric towards Denmark and Greenland is rightly being met with very sharp criticism. Sweden, the Nordic countries, the Baltic states, and several large countries in Europe are standing together in support of our Danish friends. The United States, on the contrary, it should thank Denmark, which has been a very loyal ally over the years.